Houston, traffic has never been this hot. Here we go! Sit back and trip. This is the Traffic Jams with Yams. Yams G, the DJ.
Mic check, what's up? Play to win fans. We appreciate y'all for tuning in to the first episode. Second episode coming up. Charles, what's up? Good. All my esports fans, what's up? We appreciate y'all for tuning in. We need y'all every week back here. I know the Oracle gonna have it jumping. Yeah.
You have tuned in to Play to Win. We're going to be dealing with 360 degrees of esports culture. Our guests will include professional esports players, executives, league owners, celebrities, all those people who have everything to do with the explosive growth that you're seeing in esports around the globe. You've tuned in to Play to Win. I am your host, Charles Gentry, aka The Oracle. We're going to have Brandon Butler on, our special competitive gamer who will be playing against somebody from our audience. So we're going to have a lot of fun today and every show. Now, without further ado, our very first guest up on deck, and you're watching Play to Win. All right, that was the man himself, DJ Yams with the sounds. And you are listening to Play to Win. I'm your host, Charles Gentry, aka The Oracle. And we're about to hook up with our first guest. That would be Mr. Joe Mans of Thirsty Minds. How you doing, Joe?
Can't complain. How you doing?
Doing good, man. And if we complain, who will listen anyway, right?
Exactly.
All right. Well, Mr. Mans is doing some great things down in Texas, over there in Longview, just before you hop over the bridge, cross the Mississippi over into Louisiana. And down there, he is holding it down, getting some esports things done, some tech with our young people, and trying to get them involved in this big booming industry called esports and technology. So that's what we're about today. We're going to find out what Joe is into and talk a little bit about trying to reach our youth, something extremely important with technology. So first of all, Joe, your organization, Thirsty Minds, tell us a little bit about that.
Thirsty Minds' mission is to expose at-risk youth to the gaming industry as a whole in both gaming development, esports competition, as a career alternative. So that's what we are about. We've made partnerships with some gaming companies where they actually took interest and wanted to show kids or high schoolers the right way to get into the industry.
All right, excellent. And as we know, there's a lot of jobs in the industry and expanding more and more every day. Well, what are some of the things that you think are important for kids to get under their tool belt? What things are going to be important for them moving forward, looking at jobs and careers?
I would say the first thing, they need to know more about what they want to do. Get them to get their hands dirty, get their hands into everything, and find out that niche that they actually like. Then once they get that niche that they actually like, or that skill set they actually like, work on it, build upon it. If you are like a 3D modeler or a texture artist, the very important thing right there is, from what I've learned, is you have to build that portfolio. An impressive portfolio will definitely get you that job. even with esports, an esports player, depending on which game you play, it's a day in, day out grind every day. So you're practicing. And not only just practicing, you're actually getting with coaches who are actually pros at the game in the first place and trying to be better.
Okay. And of course, anytime we're talking about young people, mentoring is such an important part of the process. So how does Thirsty Minds and your platform, Goshen, work with young people in terms of mentoring?
In mentoring, so with our platform, it allows professionals to reach out to students. Not only they actually have classes for teaching how to do game development or esports, but we have holistic classes that are teaching them how to deal with mentally concerning like your health, mental health, and all those areas. But going back to the structures, they're giving them hands-on assignments, project-based assignments where they have a product to perform. The software tend to be tedious because you're dealing with industry standard software, but the right teacher, a professional that's already in there, knows how to steer them in the right direction and what they need to concentrate on starting off. We actually start off in the middle school. Well, I would say third grader to the middle school level students, which were the best time to get their interest, to gain their interest, start building creating that building block and stepping in the right direction.
And as we know, when you're talking about industry people, it's so important. You know, you have teachers who are actually in the industry themselves and are successful. And one of the things that you're doing is this summer, you're presenting a summer camp for youth that they can attend online that involves some of those industry professionals teaching them all these important things. So give us a little information on the summer program, what that's about, and then how they can get involved with it.
Okay, so what our basic summer program, the kids are learning how to program in Roblox, Minecraft. They're learning how to use different 3D softwares on how to basically do character creation, environment creation. Programs like Blender, 3D Max, and Maya. In Maya, you're learning how to animate. You're learning how to create a scene and actually be doing animation just to put it together. Our animation guy, he's from Robot Entertainment. It's an actual video game company out in Dallas who's actually teaching the class. I have for 3D Max, we have a guy named Sean Bellinger. Matter of fact, he is a Houston native, but he works for Electronic Arts, and he's teaching 3D Max on how to do what you call hard surface modeling. So when I say hard surface, learning how to create armor to make it look actual hard instead of more organic. We have people from other states. We even have a special class in Blender geared towards Hispanics, where they're being taught. And Alberto, he's a really good artist. He actually does freelance work for different gaming companies throughout the world. So he'll be teaching some beginner basics and try to get pretty much what the interest. Basically, he's dealing with environmental 3D art with that. With our esports coaches, we have professionals in the industry from Team Revere. They're a group that's been really helping me out. We have a advisor in our group. He actually worked for DreamWorks. He's a 3D modeler for them. So he's basically any work that student does, he gets to check it out and tell them what they need to work on how to better improve. So for those who would like to get in on it, you can actually register online. If you go to our Facebook page, which is Thirsty Minds Design and Media, and go to our event page. It has all the information as far as what you need. Our platform is going to be on Roku and Amazon Fire Stick. That's what makes it really different. That makes it more intimate. It keeps the parents involved, because I've been talking to a lot of parents. They are concerned about just giving that child a phone or a tablet and not knowing what they're watching or who they're dealing with. But you go back to linear television, everybody can see it. One, two, it keeps the parents involved and aware as far as what's going on. So they can actually go to our event page, click on ticket, and they can actually buy the tickets. It's just $100 per family. Let me repeat that again. It's $100 per family, not per child, which is really cheap. And it's a 3-week camp. So our esports coaches are actually setting us, we'll be picking the top students that perform as far as, and depending on what game, they'll actually compete that last week in a tournament going on during the camp. And so everybody, parents, grandparents, friends, family can actually see their child, whoever gets picked, will actually compete during the tournament. So we're encouraging. Our goal is 800 to 1,000 families. Yes, it's a small scale, but anything big always starts off small. So if they want more information, our email is thirstyminds, MINDS, media@gmail.com. Again, that's thirstyminds, MINDS, media@gmail.com.
Excellent. And let me throw this in there. I don't know what anyone else has been looking at, but I can tell them you're not going to find a program like this one that you're talking about for $100 per family. That's unheard of, okay?
Yes, sir.
I mean, you're paying $1,500 and up, way up for these kinds of programs. So to get one where you're really benefiting, the inner city families who might have a hard time trying to get into some of those camps at those prices, and you're bringing it for $100, not even per person, per family. That is just fantastic. Everybody needs to jump on that real quick.
Yes, sir. And we'll be starting July 20th, which is the official start date. And this is our first test, our first time doing it. And again, we have industry professionals that actually have a heart for kids, who wants to see a change, especially with some of the crazy issues that's going on right now. My goal is start with the kids if you want to start change.
Well, you are doing some great things down there and working with youth. I know from my own background, and I know with most people who work with youth, that a lot of that stems from your own upbringing and the things that you were facing or dealing with as a youngster growing up. So kind of to give us a little indication what your background was and what led you to, really have a heart to work with young people.
Well, my background came from a single parent home. My mother had a disability. She was raising 4 boys on her own. Basically, we all tried to stay knit together. My mother was an artist before her eyesight got bad. She was a really great artist, and I kind of just stemmed from her. When we got our first video game, which was a Nintendo when it first came out,
Right.
And I've always like, what could I do to actually get into this industry? And there was nothing out there for that. Nowhere, know who to contact. I would say the closest video game company during that time that I was aware of at that time was Capcom. They were a big industry in the Dallas area. So with that being said, rocked on. I got into technology. I got into the IT program where I actually did networking, major corporations. I was still doing my artwork. I started dabbling into 3D art. And then I started going to the Academy of Art and University, which was a big price point for me, which I had to get out of there. I mean, you was average almost $2,000 a class. That was really expensive. So I'm like, you know what? Instead of if I'm not able to get into it, and I'm as old as I'm getting, why if I just start a kid going in that actual area and give them opportunity that I didn't have a chance to. So, and that's how Thirsty Minds was born.
Again, it's certainly a great need in our communities to get our young people involved in this booming industry, okay? As we look at what's happening now, A lot of job losses, a lot of jobs disappearing, automation taking over in a lot of instances, robotics, cloud computing, just a lot of things along with AI, that are going to be not just taking over jobs, but also providing jobs for those who have those types of skills, But it's so important to get people involved at an early age. And we have a generation that has really grown up with gaming and playing esports and games. So how do you make that connection between them just playing games to the point where they are becoming interested in the industry and thinking about careers in esports and in technology?
So I was fortunate to meet with a young man named Aaron Tebow from Gearbox Software. They're also the publisher of Fortnite. They're not the maker, but they are the publisher of Fortnite. And way I was able to actually bridge the gap, I was able to take those students who was a part of my program, to a field trip to the actual gaming company. And they're right in Frisco, Texas. We actually went to their facility, and him and his staff actually took the time to do a little workshop, did a lecture, and actually fed them. And the kids had fun, and he got to tell them what the industry was about, how they can get in, what kind of money they can make, show them the importance of an animation and how it transfers over into what you call a game engine like Unreal, or creating a scene and how that character interacts in that scene and transfer it over into, again, the game engine in Unreal, and how all that comes together, all the little nuances from just your traditional art, even music, which is still an important part, from sound effects, even creating soundtracks for the game. So the kids are grasping it real easy as I'm teaching them. When for Longview School District, I was teaching them Blender and showing, okay, this is how you make a character. But when they grasp that, they see, okay, you got polygons, you have vertices, you have lines, how all that actually relates and how does it look. And the kids are going back and playing their game, but they're looking for certain things that they normally would not look for.
Right, exactly. We have such a leap in terms of gaming. Remember when we were coming up and we were playing with characters that looked like, cartoon characters, or something that was, kind of made up and put on the screen. Now you can barely tell a game from, a real movie or television. Right. Everything is so realistic. With the ability to do those kinds of things that are, again, so realistic looking, do you think that it will continue to go in the direction that it's going, where young people are playing games more and spending more time on games than they are with traditional television?
I see it changing to the point where they've been dealing with VR, virtual reality, AR, alternate reality. So I would say let's just go back to if you're a Star Trek fan, where they had what they call the holodeck. I'll see us going into an era of that, and I don't think we're that far away from it, where you have alternate reality and you're actually interacting with computer-generated environments, and actually being able to interact and live out certain fantasies. TV, I would say, will always be around, but I think it would be different in certain ways. That's something that's still to remain to be seen. But as far as playing the games, yes, playing the games will always be around. But how we play the game, I do believe it's going to change a lot.
Okay, right. What have you seen in terms of the kids that you're working with? Once you introduce them to these things, do you see kind of the light bulb come on? Do you see them, take on a whole different mentality toward what they're doing? I mean, is there a visual change and a behavioral change in what you're seeing in those young people once they're introduced to these programs?
I've had some principals and teachers tell me about some of the students whose parents were really happy how their interest in school had changed. A lot of them actually taking the time. It's like, okay, I actually want a career. I can see myself doing. There's one little girl, for privacy issues, I will not mention her name, but she was known for fighting a lot. She's known for fighting a lot in the school, getting in trouble, going to sleep in the class. And when they introduced my program, you took time to talk to her. I mean, at first it's like, nah, I'm not interested. But I started showing interest in her and taking the time to show her one-on-one what she can actually do. Something as creating a 3D generated book, just creating a book actually did a whole lot for her. The mother had called the school crying, said, thank you so much. Every child is going to be different. Some kids take more time before they actually make a turn. It takes a lot more time turning a flagship than turning a tugboat. Because some things, let's just say the backgrounds or the past are kind of deeply rooted. And there are some who can instantly come out of it. So each child is different and each child has to be handled different. With that young lady, she still hasn't grown, but you could see there were some changes coming because she started calming down. She wasn't always in a rage and not as disrespectful as she was, but she's actually showing interest besides the phone or besides TV or besides fighting. She was actually starting to become more interested in the program.
So working with these young people and introducing them to technology, to game design and all those fantastic things that you're doing is actually a game changer for a lot of these young people.
Yeah, exactly. And I implemented a session during a summer program last year called Teachers versus Student Game Day, where the teachers and the students actually competed in specific games during that day. We had
I know how that one came out.
Well, it's not as probably as much as you thought. We had fighting games like Street Fighter, Smash Brothers. We had 2K. There's one fighting game that I think all the students and the teachers end up loving, and I know is highly underrated. It's called Jump Force. Jump Force is by Bandai Namco, and it's a highly underrated game. And it's like, literally the teachers started to win. It's to the point it let the teachers what some people say who are uptight came all the way out of the shell, and the kids and the teachers were talking noise respectfully, but they were talking noise, especially in 2K. It's like it made a greater bond. It actually gave the kids a new, different outlook of that teacher that they normally don't like. And it actually tore down barriers. And I'm a big stickler about what I mentioned about when we was playing a Nintendo. My mom took the time to play with us, even though she sucked at it. But when we go back to basic spending family time,
just the interaction, right?
Exactly. It's no difference in what I was doing with those kids when I had a teacher and student day. Them kids actually started asking more about that, and you saw some of the wedges that was there between a teacher and a specific student start changing. It started breaking. Okay, well, maybe this person actually do care about me, and maybe I need to give them a chance.
So, in saying that, it's obvious that this can really be a tool for not only teachers, but for schools themselves to really get an interaction going with the school, the teachers, and the students in a way that they may not have had going, prior to this.
Exactly. It's again, the kids. What I learned about kids, even those who are in trouble, they're looking, at the end of the day, they're still looking for someone who actually cares. We don't know what goes on behind closed doors when they go home. You don't know what they have to deal with when they go home. But at the end of the day, a child, some kids may feel like, okay, I'm just, school is just a place of where my parents don't have to be bothered with me anymore. They're not interested in, they're not even interested in making grades. But when they find somebody that actually shows true interest, they're going to resist a little bit because they're so used to somebody not showing them love. But when somebody actually show them love and actually come down to their level and trying to learn what they learn, get into what they like. I would say for me, when I go to school, I wear shirts like, let's say like this, where you wearing stuff like Hero Academia or Dragon Ball Z shirts or PlayStation shirts, stuff like that. Or if you're into anime or anything like that, it's like, okay, you're into what I like. Okay. And you can talk about what I like, so we can actually have a common ground where we can actually reach each other.
Okay.
Again, that is an actual wall being torn down between that student, teacher, or even just as simple as a parent who has a hard time communicating with their kids. The Black kids need more interest to be shown from the teacher and from the parents, especially in our inner city culture. We can do better.
Okay.
Some of us have gotten off of that track. We have to do better, show more interest.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Well, I'm talking with Joe Mans here of Thirsty Minds. And Joe, just as we're ending this, one more time, tell them about the summer program, where and how they can get signed up for it. Where can they sign up for it?
Well, if you go to our Facebook page, which is Thirsty Minds Design and Media, go to the event. We have it on our event page, and you can sign up by clicking on ticket, and it'll take you to another site where you can sign up. You can choose the class, you can choose the esports coaching that you want, and it also have set up if you have an Amazon Fire Stick or Roku. We're also working on a solution for those who do not have either one of those as well. You won't be left out either way it goes. We're offering coding in Roblox and Minecraft, learning how to do 3D development, and esports coaching from Smash, 2K. We have Overwatch, we have Valorant, we have Rocket League. We're also offering Smash. Those various games starting off. So we're one of the ages will start off from 3rd graders to 8th graders. You have a set of classes that's set for you, and also from high schoolers to college students. So nobody's being left out. And again, it's just $100 per family, not per child, per family. Because we want to get this accessibility out to every inner city family.
Right, fantastic. And we will be putting that information up again at the end of our show today. You're watching Play to Win. I am Charles Gentry, AKA The Oracle, your host, and my guest has been Mr. Joe Mans of Thirsty Minds. Joe, thanks so much for being on and telling us about the fantastic programs you have, and we'll have you back.
All right, thank you so much.
They appreciate it. All right. Well, we're going to Mr. DJ Yams once again with the sounds. DJ Yams.
Damn, son, where'd you find this?
Houston, traffic has never been this hot. Here we go! Sit back and trip. This is the Traffic Jams with Yams. Cut it.
Now it's time to kick it over to BT Tech Tiger. Let the games begin.
Heard that shit.
Enemy personal radar in the air.
Time's up. Move your asses.
Kobe. Kobe.
Hey, I was right there. Where you at? Alright, that was good. Victory? The fuck? Oh man, that was right. That was about to be tie game right there. That was what's up. Let's see. Okay, load up.
I know where you are now.
I was waiting for I was waiting for you to come through that door real quick. I was like, all right. Damn. Man, I think I got my headphones on backwards or something. Cause it sounds like you're coming. Damn it. This whole time I've been playing with my headphones fucking backwards, bro.
Doesn't sound like fucking beast mode.
Yeah, I'm like, no, I heard you coming from the other side, and you came from the other side. Oh my goodness. I've been playing. Damn. I think I've been playing like that for 2 days.
What? That rocket didn't even launch? Oh shit.
Time's up. Move your asses.
Ooh, nice.
I can still catch up.
Ooh.
Damn it.
All right, shit. All right, man, we're gonna have to call it a tiebreaker, bro. We're gonna have to chime you in. This is a perfect opportunity. We're gonna have to do this again for the final tiebreaker. But, you know, thanks for having you in. Throw out your gamer tag, throw out your ID, throw out your real name if you want. Yo, put it out.
Yo, yo. You already know on Solo Dolo. But it's actually Blast Master.
Okay.
Change it again in another 6 months.
Okay.
But one and only CJ.
All
That's the
right.
main one.
Okay, okay, all right. So that was an excellent match. 1v1. Man, we tied up. We're going to have to break it one of these days, and we're going to broadcast it.
Yes, definitely.
All right, all right. All right, man. Well, yo, that was an excellent few matches. I'll catch up with you. You see me online, hit me up. Shout out, make sure we shout out the Oracle. Oracle is the one running this. So,
Shout out Oracle.
yeah, yes. So, all right, y'all. Thanks for tuning in. Catch y'all next time, next week, same day, same time.
All right, y'all. Peace.
Peace.
All right, DJ Yams with the sounds. Thank you so very much. As usual, right on point. Our guest today is Danny Martin of Geek Leaks.
Yes.
All right. How's it going, Danny?
We're learning every day. It's definitely times of increased concern, also a lot of agility amongst companies that are pivoting in times of COVID. So we're just trying to make sure that we do as best as we can to adhere to the students and individual within this space of esports.
Okay. All right. All right. And from what I'm hearing, doing a great job. I had a guest on the other day, and guess whose name came up?
Who was that?
Joe Mans.
Joe Mans.
There you go. Yes, indeed. So we're doing some positive things, and it's getting around, and we're going to talk about some of that today.
Okay.
First of all, you know, esports is just exploding all over the globe. Give us an idea of how you got involved with esports.
Yeah, so I started out of my dorm room in college. I literally, in between practice for our school, I ran track. I was just trying to focus in on how to make some capital in school. Typically, you know, everybody doesn't get a full ride scholarship in track. It's not like the basketball or football teams. So if we had to figure out how to manage our classes, study hall, practice, and then find ways to make some capital. So for me, going to school for entrepreneurship, my mind was always trying to figure out what would be that business. And it was immediate when one of my friends on the CAF, we were eating at lunch, and he was just like, hey, you know, I can't fix my console. I have to go take it to Microsoft. It's going to cost me a lot of money. And so someone else was like, hey, I know somebody can fix it. And my light bulb just went off like, whoa, I'm sure a lot of individuals has this problem. And so I went with them to figure out who was able to fix it. And I, stuck around, and the individual who was able to fix the consoles, PlayStation, Xbox, he just turned into my mentor. So for me, I would just go on campus and say, hey, there's a service, knock on doors and doors and doors, dorm rooms and and say, hey, is your console broken? I know how to be able to fix it. So I would just take, Juve 10, 20 consoles a day and just sit there 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, just watching him fix them. And eventually I was able to learn. And he was teaching me every component from changing lenses to reflowing and taking off the processor on the motherboard to fixing red rings of death and things like that. And ultimately I was just like, hey, Juve, I want to be able to take this business on myself and just do it out of my dorm room. He said, hey, you have my blessing. And ultimately, when I started getting individuals' consoles, I was able to see what games they play, or, how long they play, what were the accolades, if they played Madden, if they played Destiny, if they played Halo, whatever it may be. I knew what games individuals played, and I collected that data. So when it came time for me to be able to host tournaments, I was able to host tournaments easily because I knew exactly who to be able to market to because I had that data. And individuals on campus started to see that I was hosting tournaments, and they were just like, man, Danny, you're making capital. So how do I host tournaments? And so I started finding myself teaching individuals how to host tournaments, and to the point where I was just like, well, everybody doesn't have the same data that I have. And when you host a tournament, you got to put up capital. And if only 2 people come into your tournament, you still have to give that winner the capital, and you've not made any money. And so the thought process of hosting a tournament was kind of scary, right? Because if you don't have money to begin with, you're like, I may lose some money. Right. So you kind of like, I don't know if I want to do this. So I knew if I can build a technology platform that provides more marketing for individuals to say, hey, if I host a tournament, I can go to a specific database. And at that point, I was just like, I don't even know software development. I know hardware, but, coding is not, I just didn't know, and as I was building this business on campus, my entrepreneurship teacher was like, hey, I know you can do so many great things because you're growing a business in your dorm room, and this is entrepreneurship class, and you're the only person that has a real true business. I know someone in Silicon Valley, San Francisco, that can help you out. And so she said, if you can just go ahead and graduate, I'll go ahead and make that introduction. And little behold, an individual by the name of Danny Luffel in San Francisco, he was just leaving eBay, and he created a tech startup, acquired about $14 million to build out a gamified eBay, essentially. And at that point, I moved up there right out of college in San Francisco and worked for some tech startups. And it was like one of the most awe experiences that I've experienced, but due to the fact that I understood how a startup was ran, from a tech component to a marketing to a finance to a management and development. And I just really soaked up all of the engineers and people who was coming from Carnegie Mellon and Facebook and all these engineers and dope people. I just soaked it up and understood the full ecosystem of building a tech startup. And then ultimately, in the back of my head, I was just like, I still want to get in esports. And so when the opportunity arose to actually go into esports, I moved to downtown Dallas and, started building esports arenas. And from that point, I just literally never looked back from there. That's how I started.
Okay. And man, what a start, to be able to not only get the information that you did, but also to have, those type of mentors to really give you the ins and outs of entrepreneurship,
Yes.
Which brings up the point how important it is to have mentors. And as part of your program, that's one of the things that you do. Tell us about what Geeklets is all about.
Yeah. So, as I stated, mentorship is so valuable. You can't expect someone to teach you if you just come with your hand, but you're just expecting people to give you knowledge or give you information. You have to be, excited about it. You have to be eager to be able to learn. And as you're eager to learn, you're able to grow much faster. They just say like, hey, if you're passionate about something, you're going to naturally want to do it, and you want to excel at it. And so when I think of esports, you're naturally finding individuals who game and they're passionately gaming for free, right? They're just doing it because they really love to do it. And when I looked at that, I was just like, man, well, if we can figure out a way to turn that into capital or turn that into career opportunities or turn that into jobs, then that is the key that's missing within this industry. Yeah, you have these top developers that create the games and they're making millions and millions and millions of dollars. But the individuals who are consuming the content, and that typically a lot of times is us that consume, pay, and we're not building, creating. So for us, we were just like, I literally wanted to create an ecosystem to drive individuals to understand this is how you build in esports. This is how you become a project coordinator or a tournament organizer. And this is how you lead a team. This is how you focus in on production and management and marketing and technology and even competition, and be able to teach and then see those skills transferable into jobs. So for us, that's what we really are focusing on here, is creating an overall ecosystem of not just playing, but this is how you build within the space of esports. And I think what we've seen, it hasn't happened over time. It just didn't happen overnight. It's a full-on process of every single day reaching one and teaching one. And I think as we look back now, there's so many individuals within our ecosystem from a gamer perspective, then also to a staff perspective. Our staff right now is geared towards helping students from high school to college and even post-college be able to find career opportunities in this space. And we're particularly doing it in a minority, in an urban community, right? So that's one of the biggest focuses, is on being able to provide opportunities to individuals who may not have the skill set or the tech or the money to be able to compete as this industry is growing in esports right now, because it is flying. And in the individuals who have the influence or they have the means or they have the mentors, they're going to excel. So I just knew that it was important to bring that expertise, to bring that insight, to open up the doors, because if you're passionate about something, if you want to, you're going to go 10 times hard. That's no different than when playing basketball when you're young and your parents telling you like, hey, I got it. You're going to go to the league. You're going to go to the NBA. You're going to go to the NFL. and every kid is just making sure that they get to that point. You know, if you can show someone that there's opportunities in esports, somebody is going to be gaming, or they're going to be creating content, or if you're trying to be a coach or recruiter to be the best, so therefore they can make it and be successful.
Okay, all right. Well, you are watching and listening to Play to Win. I am your host, Charles Gentry, aka The Oracle, and I'm talking with Danny Martin of Geek Leaks, and he's telling us about that process of taking people from being just consumers to being producers out there. All right. Okay, you've had some successes, some people that have come through the program that you funneled into different places. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so when we first started in 2,000 square foot space, it was actually my home. I literally converted my living room and my bedroom into an esports arena that allows gamers to come in and host tournaments. And that was the way of, when we created the software platform, it was a way to test our MVP, right? So if you allow people to come in, and I typically allowed individuals to come and host their tournaments at a fraction of the cost as it would have been if you rented out a ballroom or you rented out a bar or something just to host your tournament in. So that allowed us to be able to get data right there by asking individuals, how was this platform? How did you use it? Was tournament organizing, did it make it easy? What were some flaws? Tell us about the defects so we can actually build it. So I used my home as a environment to host tournaments, while at the same time as a dev center, you know, just being able to have our developers there, just saying, all right, we got to make this, our UI better, our database has to be a little bit better. And then overall, just seeing that allowed us to see that individuals who host tournaments, they bring in gamers. And when they bring in gamers, you get to see good talent. So then we were starting to say, man, it's some really good gamers coming out of this space. And we also recognized that as we were building that tech platform, is that when you try to build a tech platform, you try to adhere to all the genres of esports, it's extremely difficult because every community in esports is different. You have your shooters, you have your MOBAs, you have your fighters, and you have your sports games. And within those genres, the communities are even different per game title. So you have to identify, and if you're trying to build a tech platform, you just can't just say, hey, I'm going to build it for everybody, because everybody has different needs. Unless you have the capital or like the bandwidth to be able to adhere to every community, you have to focus in on one community. And so at that point, we were just like, what is that community? And we identified that the sports community was ours, just through the fact that, you know, we come from sports backgrounds. I love basketball. So in this instance, it was, let's focus on the NBA 2K community. And we recognized that at that point, sports game was not on the type of tier as your League of Legends or your Dotas, when you're seeing millions of prospects being offered or viewership being crazy increased. That was not the case for sports as of at that time. And so when it came down to having a tech platform and you're telling an investor, hey, we are focusing on sports, and they're like, the numbers are not that. So I can't, you're not going to get $2 million or $5 million in investment capital. So at that point, we had to actually build up the community. So that's when we started focusing on the NBA 2K. And at that point, I was just like, man, in 2016, NBA 2K came out with 5v5 Pro-Am. And we were just like, as soon as I seen it, I was just like, this is it. This is the reason why sports games are not on the same level as your League of Legends, because there's no team component. We're so used to picking up the sticks and playing Madden, and you pick a team, and this person pick a team, and y'all teams go at it. But in that, with 2K, that was the first time a sports game had 5 individuals competing against 5 different individuals, meaning 5 individuals as a point guard. You got a different individual as a shooting guard, a different individual as a center. And that allowed individuals to be able to know, like, hey, there's communication, there's leadership, there's teamwork, there's all of these components that show all the things that traditional sports show, and also your League of Legends, your Dotas, the things that are around teams. Now we can use this to leverage to build up the community. And that allowed us to be able to say, hey, if you want to come into our space and play 5v5 NBA 2K, come. And at that point, we recognized that we started creating this league, because I was just like, we can create a full NBA 2K league. And then 2 years after that, the NBA 2K, started building out a league themselves in partnership with the NBA. And at that point, we started to see gamers that were coming out of our space getting drafted in the NBA 2K League. So far right now, we have 7 players in 3 years that have gotten drafted in the NBA 2K League, and they've started in our space, and we identify why. And just like traditional sports, a coach, a recruiter, a player, they have to compete amongst each other They have to share the same environment. They sometimes live with each other. And in this instance, that helps a recruiter identify good talent. And for NBA 2K, when the draft came along, it was, all right, most of the gamers, they competed with different individuals in different geographic locations, and they were competing online. So a coach or a recruiter only had the visible aspect of that person streaming, but you couldn't identify if that person was going to compete on a large stage. You couldn't identify if that person was not going to kill their other teammate, not just figuratively, in actually a home because, you know, someone's dirty or someone's toxic. You know, you can't identify that. So when you're actually able to see them compete in a live setting, it made their draft stock go up higher. So at that point, we were just like, oh, snap, we need to actually have a bigger space and invite more gamers to be able to compete in NBA 2K. So therefore, they can get more attention because that's why they're getting drafted. And we can be able to interact with the Mavs gaming. We can interact with Brooklyn Nets gaming. We can interact with all the NBA 2K League teams that are out there. So therefore, they can be able to see top tier talent. And that's one of the biggest reasons right now why we are in this 15,000 square foot esports arena that allows these individuals to compete on a large stage in front of a big crowd so it can mimic what it would be when they're actually in the NBA 2K League, when they got even thousands of individuals being able to watch them in a live setting. So that's one of the biggest reasons why we really wanted to be able to see the individuals make it to the next step. And then easily we identified not only gamers are going pro, quote unquote, but when you're creating an event inside of here, as I stated at the beginning, it takes so many moving parts to put it all together. And at that point, we started to see people who will come to me and be like, hey, I am in wedding photography, but I really just like to get into esports. And so in this instance, I'm like, hey, come on in. You know, you can shoot some work with us. And then they're having the best project and best portfolio. And now they can go send that portfolio to other large esports organizations. And now look at it. They have a huge job. They have a great opportunity. And we've seen that in not only videography or photography, we've seen that in so many other genres when it came down to coaching, when it came down to podcasting, just giving them the opportunity allowed them to create portfolios, essentially EPKs, to be able to say, this is my work, this is my skill set, and then be able to pitch it to larger developer companies, larger esports organizations. And we started to see that there was a pipeline being created. So now we look at Geek Leads as an ecosystem, a developmental platform for not only gamers, but individuals who want to get into this space just as much from a career perspective.
Okay. You know, I'm hearing so many good things that you're saying. One is your ability to absorb information and then apply that information, retrieve the data from what you learn and make improvements, you know, and expand on what you're doing.
Yes.
And this is, you know, this is the basis of entrepreneurship. You know, how do you, and seeing the path that you've come along and how you progressed and were able to make it to where you are, how do you pass those kinds of things on to those young people that you're working with? You know, because as they say, you know, entrepreneurs are not made, they're born, you know. So we know that we have a lot of talented young people out there that just need that kind of structure and the formatting and the knowledge of how to do this, you know. So how do you pass those intangibles on to the younger people?
Yeah, that's a awesome way that you structured that question. And I always take it back into high school for me. It's just like, if I'm in high school, I'm trying to identify in my mind, I'm saying, is the education, is my teachers engaging? And if they're not, I'm thinking about basketball. Or in this instance, I was thinking about my uncles. And as soon as I get out of high school, as soon as school ends, I'm going to cutting yards and I'm going to sell barbecue in front of stores. I'm looking at ending here or ending school and being able to make money from an entrepreneurship perspective. And that's what's caught my attention because I can actually apply it. Now, when you think of education, a lot of kids right now, students right now are looking at it as like, how am I even going to use this? They don't understand how they're going to use it. So therefore they are closed to it. So one of the ways that I focus in on is being super transparent and saying, here's how it's going to be used in the real world. So in our instance right now, for a lot of our education that we're pushing out, it's actually being there, touching and feeling. if you're a coach, this is how you be a coach. This is what you should focus in on, and showing it, because individuals are like, yeah, you can teach me, but if you're not doing it, then why should I listen to you? Because I'm listening to somebody else, and whether I'm watching YouTube or watching, looking at, ESPN, I'm actually seeing the individuals out there do it. So that's what we really wanted to focus in on, is making sure that we were walking the talk, right? We were walking the walk and talking the talk. And this instance, it allows a student to say, all right, you don't even have to say anything, but I see you actually doing it, and I want to actually follow suit by doing it myself. And that's no different than how I learned when I first started in esports. It's like I seen somebody building a console, I watched them, I learned from them, and then I took that insight and built it out. And so in this instance, I'm looking at the fact that when we are engaged with students, it's being able to show them how it's done and not just only just tell them. Because students are not going to, they're not going to, it's not going to transfer as well as if you just say, hey, here's a task, go build it. I remember when I first got up to San Francisco, and my CEO at that time, he was just like, I was like, I got to learn software development. I got to learn software development. And he was just like, and I'll be in the office, and I have all these books about coding and JavaScript and Ruby and ASP.NET. And I was just reading. And he was just like, Danny, just put all those books up. You need to actually go do a project. If you have a project and you go and actually start coding it, you're going to find that you're going to say, all right, I need this bar. You're going to go learn how to build this bar. And then you're going to say, I need a carousel. I want the pictures to go through the website, and you're going to learn how to build it. So you actually need to be project-based, and that's how you're going to learn, not just reading all day. Go put it and apply it. And that aspect right there let me to know, like, this is how learning should be. It should really be hands-on, and you should be able to tackle a problem. And that when you tackle that problem, now you can go to the next problem and the next problem. So that's what we're really focusing on here. And the cool thing about esports is it's centered around project management, tournament organizing. And once you create an event, your tentacles are all around the space, from competition to management and marketing to production. And that is when you say, hey, if you want to get in this industry, you're starting in that space, or you're identifying how you can be part of that tentacle to create a full event. And when you see yourself do that, then you're able to say, all right, cool, I got some skill sets, and now let me build on those skill sets. So for us, to answer your question in the shortest form, it's being able to apply. And applied experiential learning is how students learn these days.
Yeah, okay. And esports just seems to be kind of the perfect petri dish for that. Multi-talented people who are able to touch on, as you say, get their tentacles out there and touch them on a number of points in esports. Tell us about your facility and your program. What are some of the components that go into what you're doing there with Geek Leagues?
Yeah, so as I stated, we think of Geek Leagues as an ecosystem. So we are right now in a 15,000 square feet esports arena. But as you may see in esports, there's so many arenas being built. And so I instantly knew that I had to diversify myself, or, put it to where it's actually it's different. And when you think about an esports arena, you think of, hey, this is a big event. People come in, they can watch the competitions, and that's great. But everybody in the space of esports are not at the ability to be able to pack out an arena, right? So in this instance, from a tournament organizer, so I looked at it as like, I found a old school, the school that was vacant for about 4 years, and I transformed the actual facility into an esports arena. But only 4,500 square feet of this space is an esports arena. It can fit about 300, not nothing big, but there's a stage. But every other room in this building can be used for classrooms. It can be used for content creation. It can be used for tournament organizing. If you're a new tournament organizer and you want to be able to start, well, you can start at 500 square foot. You can then move up to 1,000 square foot space. And then you'll eventually get to be in the arena, the 4,500 square foot. And if you're packing that out, now you're ready for these large arenas that are around the Metroplex and around the nation. And in that instance, now we've created a feeder system to those large arenas that are all around. So we look at ourselves as a full ecosystem of development. I always think about this space as an incubator, right? If you want to be able to get into esports, just come through these doors and be able to do podcasting, do shoutcasting. Just reach out to me and say, hey, I'm interested in competing. Do you guys have a tournament coming up? Yes, we have one. Come and actually show your skill sets. You may not be the best, but keep coming, keep coming, keep coming. And that's how we've been able to create this full ecosystem for development. But I look at this space as that space. And the cool thing about this is before COVID, we were looking at this space as like, all right, we got classrooms that we can use. So let's go and engage with the actual students and the schools. And then, you know, we were just like, when we go to the schools are like, what is esports? What? We're kind of hearing it, but we don't get it too much, you know? And at that point, I was just like, how do we make this easier? So I ended up getting all of the mayors in our city. So we got Duncanville, DeSoto, Cedar Hill, Lancaster. I got all the mayors to come in for an event. They didn't know it was around esports, but once they got here, we were able to, you know, get them on stage and play Rocket League, right? And so at that point, they're looking at it as like, as mayors of cities, they're playing Rocket League. So it allowed them to see and feel esports and see all of the career opportunities around that. So now it made it easier for them to be able to go to their administrators, go to the ADs and say, hey, we want to incorporate esports into our city because it brings revenue, hotels, restaurants, and if it's in the schools, we can start to teach our students. And so in this instance right now, we started now being able to be involved in schools where they were already on board to bus their students here from after school programs from 4 to 6 p.m. And we were able to let them touch and feel management, marketing, technology, competition, and production, and then identify where their skills lie to help them formulate an event. So just thinking about it from a perspective of when you were in elementary school and the students all put together a play and then the parents were able to come and watch them perform. No, it's no different than what we're doing here in this space. And then COVID hit, right? So now when COVID hit, everything turned virtual. So as a company, and you spoke on it at the very beginning of this podcast, you have to be agile. You have to be nimble. For us, we didn't have a virtual space, right? We didn't think about the virtual component because we were like, man, everybody in esports are already virtual, but the physical is where it's going. So when COVID hit, it's kind of squashed our dreams from that perspective, but it was cool because we had a background, and I say we because I'm just used to saying we, but from us perspective, I had a background in software development. So it allowed us to say, no, we actually need to put all the curriculum, everything that we had into a platform, and we can use platforms like Canva or Google Classroom or whatever. But if we actually built our own, then we can be able to have our own content, have our own technology, and be able to stay as a relevant company, as a tech company, a true tech company, and that can help our valuation go up much higher. So when it came down to it, we just took all of those segments, created content within modules. We have right now 5 segments, and each segment has about 4 modules, and each module has about 5 topics. Right now, we have 5 months of content where we actually have videos for every single day of the student, and they're actually able to have an assessment. So now they can learn all aspects of esports. So therefore, now they can do it virtually, and we can engage with individuals all around the world now. Before this podcast, I was on a call in Egypt, right? And they're looking to engage with our content in Egypt. You know, so now we're able to touch on more individuals all around the world globally now, and it's now been able to look at us as, hey, now we can see the best of the best talent, and now once COVID finishes, we can invite that talent here and actually be able to allow them to put together events. Now you're helping the industry by increasing the amount of skills of the individuals that are participating and who really, really want this, opportunity in esports. So for us right now, education is everything because it starts with education and then it ends with a pipeline to career opportunities.
Okay, all right. One thing that I also see, and as the saying goes, don't despise the day of small things. You took something and you just grew it and grew it and grew it and added on to what you were doing. There are so many communities out there that are looking for something to engage in that can bring revenue into the community, that can, even touch the minds of their kids to have a passion about something. This seems to be like the perfect storm. How do you see esports in terms of going into maybe communities that are disadvantaged, engaging those communities and showing them the possibilities?
Yes, for sure. There's two aspects. There's the ability to go into the schools and be able to, like I stated, show them. First, you go in and speak. So right before COVID, I was going out to schools. I was out, literally out of town every single week at a different school or a different college, being able to say, hey, here's how you do it. So we'll go into schools and we'll do a 2-day seminar. We'll call it a master class. And then that time, that first day, we will talk to the actual parents and the administrative staff about esports, put them on game about esports. And then the second day, they will allocate 60, 100 students to be able to participate in our masterclass. So at that point, in one day, I will go into the schools and being able to say, hey, all right, here's esports. All right, now we're going to put you in teams and we're going to give you a project. That project will be, all right, if you wanted to create an event, you have a $100,000 budget. What would you spend to be able to put this event together? Would you utilize capital for influencers? How much would your equipment be purchased? And then we'll allow the teams to be able to create their PowerPoint and pitch their opportunity to create this event. And what that would do for the school is like, oh snap, we actually can run our own events in our school with our students because they're engaged now. Right. So ultimately now the schools, when I would leave, now their thinking caps are on and saying, all right, our own student body can put together an event because they just proved it to us. And then from there, I can then go to the next school, to the next, and that could be a minority community, a economic disadvantaged community, that can be an affluent community. But it's all being able to be engaged with the fact that here you have resources in your school. Depending on how much capital you have, utilize those resources because everybody doesn't come from a lot. But the cool thing about individuals who don't come from a lot, they're extremely resourceful. So now you can say, you may not have $100,000 budget. You may have a $10,000 budget. What are you going to do with that $10,000 budget? And how are you going to take what you build and actually build it and build it more and build it more over time? That is how you can be able to engage with communities that are low economic disadvantage. And that's one of the biggest ways for us being able to go in those communities. And also, where our esports space is in an area that is low income or minority, or, that's one of the biggest reasons why I wanted to put it into this space, because it's closer. We recognize easily that when we was in downtown, we've seen individuals come in that facility, that 2,000 square foot facility from North Dallas and also South Dallas. And we were just like, the entertainment, where's it coming from? Like the culture. And then we were just like, nah, we seen that esports stadium, we've seen complexity, we've seen Maps Gaming open up large arenas, but there was nothing in the South. So we were just like, let's go to the South, right? Let's go engage with the South, because it's easier for someone of affluence to travel down here, but it's harder for someone that doesn't come from affluence to travel all the way up to the north, right? So you're missing a whole community here that has engagement, culture, entertainment. If you look at NFL, if you look at NBA, what do you see? You see culture. You see so much in there that is ingrained within our communities, but ultimately we're looked at as just talent, right? I want to make sure that we come in this community and we're looked at as leaders, entrepreneurs, thought leaders, and not just talent. There is a talent component to that, but that's not everything. We can actually own, we can build, we can bring capital to our communities. And that's one of the biggest things I feel that we can be able to add value to the communities in which your statement applies.
That's so extremely important, to go beyond just the talent. There aren't going to be, let's face it, that many LeBron James.
Yes.
Okay. And if we're all depending on being that guy, that space is so limited.
Yes.
But as you're talking about, you're taking people with different talents, different kinds of abilities, different kinds of things that they can do, and you're incorporating them in and saying, okay, what do you do? All right, come on in here and you can do this. And you're really plugging people into the different outlets where they can excel at. Okay, so what's kind of a formula for doing that? You have people doing 1,000 different things, but I'm hearing you say that you're bringing people in and you can really plug them in and show them where they can fit into this whole esports space. So, tell me, looking forward, what you see in terms of esports and in terms of the opportunities that are presenting themselves through this new booming billion-dollar industry?
Yeah, I see right now, as I'm pivoting and I'm understanding this industry and figuring out how to move through it, I'm looking at it from a perspective as I do not see any esports schools. So I'm looking at it as could be the first esports schools in the nation that we can create. And as a business model, I can replicate a school in Houston. I can put a school in New York. I can put a school in Philadelphia. And that's how I'm looking at it, because what's going on here is being able to see someone that walks up to the door and they say, man, I don't know how to get in esports. I play games. Most people come to me and I say, I play games. And I'll be like, okay, what else do you do? I play games. And the first thing I'm like, okay, cool, great, you play games. Now I got to figure out, in my mind, what else could you be doing? What are you talented at? And I think one of the cool things that has happened is the fact that we built our tech platform, our virtual esports masterclass. So in this instance, it's easy to be able to say, all right, student, go through this virtual platform, go through all the modules and the segments, and that will tell us where you lie, where your skill sets based off of assessment. And then from there, I can see that, and then I can say, oh, all right, you're good at production. You're interested in production. Now we have this event, and now you can actually come and see the production technicians, the broadcasters, the graphic designers put together event. Hey, by the way, on July 7th, we got an event from Columbia, Sony Records. We're going to have celebrities, and they're going to be playing FIFA. Come watch that event done virtually, right? And you can be able to see how all of this stuff comes together. And now you just plugged in someone based off of identifying their talents and where they may lie. Now they can be able to find their niche and be excelling in what they do. And we do that with every component of marketing, management, competition, production, and technology. And for us, it's creating that pipeline. So make sure that someone off the street or someone that Googles, how do I get in esports, Geekly's pops up, or any other developmental company pops up. And then for them to say, all right, cool, now I have a pipeline on how I can get into this industry. And then from there, now they can excel. And ultimately, cool thing is, what I'm focusing on now is engaging with partners that are in the industry of esports, because they are too looking for talent. They want to be able to fill up jobs. So creating those partners now, if Geek Leaks can't be able to provide them an opportunity because we just are at capacity, now we can say, hey, Ubisoft, hey, Activision, hey, EA, we have a great individual who has a portfolio that's been built out of Geek Leaks, and I think that person may be great for that position that you're offering. That is how we create that pipeline.
Plugging people in. Excellent. Excellent. Well, in closing, why don't you give us information on how interested people can reach you at Geek Leaks, how they can touch with you and maybe get involved with what you're doing there.
Yes, for sure. The first thing is definitely LinkedIn. If you are a teacher, instructor, a CEO, a CMO, whatever it may be from a professional career perspective, reach out on LinkedIn. Currently right now, I'm very engaged in LinkedIn, and you can be able to send me a message, and then we'll set an email and engage from there. We'll take it on from there. And then if you are interested in gaming, definitely go to our social media channels like Twitter. Twitter is very good and engaged with the community. If you love a particular FGC title or NBA 2K, literally go to Twitter. You'll be able to build out a community. That's Geek Leaks at Twitter. And you will literally be able to go and see everybody that we are engaging with, and you can charter your path to figure out where your community fits, and you can engage from there. Discord just as much. Geek Leaks, really identify on social media on how to tap into the communities, and we'll help you get through there. But just easily send a message, especially on LinkedIn. That's about the best way to get a hold of us, via that of Geek Leaks or myself, Danny Ray Martin Jr.
All right, fantastic. Well, you are listening to and watching Play to Win. I'm your host, Charles Gentry, aka The Oracle, and I've been talking to Danny Martin, who, as you heard, doing some big things there. And you are outside of Dallas, or in South Dallas, right?
Yes, DeSoto, Texas.
DeSoto, Texas, exactly. All right. Well, Danny, hey, it's been a pleasure talking to you. And I've been hearing some great things, even before I came on here about you. And I'm even more convinced now that you have a tremendous vision, not only for today, but for the future.
Yes.
And we know that you might be needing, you know, maybe another 15, 20,000 square feet.
Yeah, for sure.
In a little
Definitely
bit. All right. So, hey, touch bases with him, as he say, you know, hook up and get involved, because they're doing some great things at Geek Leads. And this is definitely a man who can plug you in and show you the good direction to go in. Danny, we appreciate it. We appreciate you coming on, and definitely keep up the great work. And we'll be having you back on again, touching bases with you.
That's perfect. Thank you so much for the opportunity. It's just fulfilling just to share, you know, one's passion and to have the ability to open up the eyes to the industry in which we love is everything. Esports right now is 1% of the gaming industry. That means we have the ability to take it from 1% to 3% to 6% to 12%. And in this instance, we need active engagement to be able to make that happen. So anytime to have a platform to be able to speak on these opportunities, I'm all in. So super thank you for being able to just allow me to have this time to speak to individuals. It's so appreciative.
All right. Appreciate it, Danny. Hey, have a great one. And as we say, we'll be getting back to you.
Bye-bye.
All right. Bye now. And we're out. Hey, I just want to say before we take off, you know, we're doing some things in Houston, growing it. A lot of the things you talked about are some of the things that we're doing, teaching entrepreneurship, you know, in the classrooms, and also hooking it in with esports. So I definitely, as I told you earlier, want to be touching with you,
yes,
you know, and incorporating some of the things that you're doing, maybe even hooking up so the kids down here can get into some of those modules that you
yes,
guys have built up, man. So,
yes,
hey, this is only the beginning. I'm letting you know right now, my brother, I'm going to tap into you. Okay.
For sure. I'll be all for it, man. You know,
All
we got a good staff, we got a good team, man, and we're growing every single day. So I think in this instance, I want to be able to help as much as I can there.
All right. Fantastic. So we'll get back to you. Hey, have a great 4th, and we'll talk to you in a bit.
Bye-bye.
Bye now.
This is how we do it. This is how we do it. All hands are in the air.
You all tucked in? Once upon a time, not long ago, when people wore pajamas and lived life slow, where laws were stern and justice stood, and people were behaving like they ought to good, there lived a little boy who was misled by another little boy, and this is what he said. Me and you tonight, we're gonna make some cash, robbing old folks and making the dash. They did the job, money came with ease, but one couldn't stop, it's like he had a disease. He robbed another, brother, tried to rob a man who was a DT undercover. The cop grabbed his arm, he started acting erratic, he said, "Keep still, boy, no need for static." Belly